Welcome, beautiful souls, to Tarot Parlor. I'm so glad you tuned in. I love being able to go over some cards with you guys and explain my opinions on what these cards mean. So I've picked two tarot cards that have very similar meanings. And sometimes we can get confused, especially when we're first starting out learning how to read tarot. So we can get confused and mix these two up. And sometimes, honestly, one card will come out in a reading and almost have the same meaning as the other one, and vice versa. So, it can throw you off sometimes when you get this card and you're like, but it's having its sister card meaning in this reading. So it's very similar right now. So I'm going to explain what these cards mean, and they also look very similar too. Let's just show you what they are. So we've got the Eight of Swords and the Nine of Swords. And as you can tell, these both look pretty similar. We've got two women that are barricaded in some way by swords, many swords. Now, swords are intellect, thought, business, law, that sort of thing, the air element, everything that has to do with the air element. So we know that these swords could be words, it could be legal matters, it could be business matters, it could be dreams themselves, it can be past thoughts, going over past conversations, or thinking about future ones, right? It could be anything like that with both of these cards. And then you see a woman here who is bound, and it looks like she is surrounded and there's no way out for her. But with being the number 8, what this card is embodying and her being bound is it's demanding her focus. It's telling her, you're going to stay put and get your sights off of everything else right now. It's time for you to focus on some things. It's about inner and outer power and learning how to balance or master those. Okay? So we've got her inner and her outer power, and she is being demanded to focus right now and learn how to control those. It's about action and boundaries and transformation. So she's in the process of going through a transformation, and she has to learn to do that transformation with precision focus. And that's why she's bound. Possibly she's even bound herself to help her get this focus. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and tell you some more slang terms for this card in a little bit. Some other things that relate to this card as well. But now let's go over here and jump over to the Nine of Swords. This one is about PTSD, past trauma, memories, nightmares, past legal affairs, or current ones, but she's having an emotional breakdown over these things. And the message of this card is it's not warranted to have the emotional breakdown. You are having a trauma response. Okay, so this card signifies a trauma response to any of those air qualities that you're experiencing in your life. So it could be memories, dreams, past experiences, past conversations, future ones that you're worried about, legal matters, business, any of those things. She's having a trauma response, and this card is telling you, quit tripping, don't have that trauma response, because these things are aligned. There's a hope in the morning. When the sun comes in, this is all going to vanish away, and you're going to feel kind of silly for getting so worked up over it. So your fears are overworking the situation, the memories, the thoughts, overthinking, okay, that's going on. So that's the difference between the two. This one is about, they're both about focus, as you can see. Get out of your trauma and focus, or let it go, get out of your head. But this one, she's trying to master her inner and outer qualities. Okay, so she's trying to master herself in these situations. Whereas this one, she needs to get out of her head and out of the trauma response, right? And let the light in the morning and see what is still sticking to the wall when the light comes in. Okay, because a lot of this is going to fade in the morning, is what the message of this card. Whereas this one is, she may have even pulled these swords herself. Okay, they're not attacking her or anything. They aren't coming in. They aren't overpowering her thought process. She may have lined them up herself even. And she's trying to use her inner strength to sort them out. Okay, so that's what's going on there. But some secret things about this is that this could also be about conditioned or self-imposed cages. Okay, conditioned meaning what you went through is what your parents may have told you about life from childhood, what church may have told you about life from childhood. You know, girls can't kiss boys, or the world is coming to an end, Armageddon's going to start. That's a conditioned idea. And so that's a self-imposed cage, okay, from a conditioned idea. So rules, procedures, thoughts, misconceptions, or being told no excessively can put you in this situation where you have to close your sights off to this stuff and take a look at what's around you without these conditions, okay, without these rules and so on. So it's like having a brainwashed or conditioned mindset and having to self-teach yourself how to self-heal and teach yourself not to think like a brainwashed person. Stereotypes is another one, you know, the entire battles that we've seen throughout the past 50 years over races. Those stereotypes, that's what all of us have done throughout the years to get out of that thinking and get into truth, right? And more of a mastery of a mastery of how we think about others. Okay. And then it's also one of those things where oftentimes we say the expression, it is what it is. It just is what it is. But it's not. It's not as it is at all. It's completely different. It's not that conditioned response. Also, some other phrases, because we have to. Or it's always been like that. Or letting a situation or superstition or omen block your progress. So seeing clearly, forcing yourself to see clearly past everything that you've always thought was true, or that society says is true, or that your parents say is true, or that as of right now you've only known to be truth. Seeing past that to your inner guide that can help you see the truth to the situations around you. Okay, the things that you have to face, your legal matters and so on. In other words, like when you're going to court, okay, and you're a religious person and you're getting divorced from your ex and you're going to be going to court for that, the court is not a religious court of law. Church and state are separate. So when you go to court, you need to get out of your mindset, your thought process of how the church wants, you think the church wants you to do things, and see how the law, okay, is on your side or isn't on your side. You've got to see the truth. So that's what that is, versus a trauma response that you're having immediately, like your immediate trauma response. Okay? So that's the difference between those two cards. Two other cards that show that. As you can see here, we've got the little lion in a cage. Okay, in a cage. And then, of course, the swords around the lion. And being in this cage could be a way to stop those natural instincts of attack on those that are trying to talk to you, right? Those conditioned responses of slapping somebody, if that was the case, if that was your conditioned response. Taming your inner beast so you can have these adult conversations and that sort of thing. So that's one idea with this card. And then, of course, this one, it shows the PTSD. Okay, so that is the meaning of these cards. And when they come up for you in a reading, always consider, hey, what's this going to look like tomorrow? Am I having a PTSD response? Is this a trauma response? Am I feeling fear because of my experiences in the past? Or will my thoughts that I'm having right now not play out how I fear they will? Okay? Versus, what inner strength do I need to bring forward? And what other negativities do I need to tame in order to get through this process? Okay? How do I uncondition myself? And this one is still, how do I uncondition my trauma? I hope that was helpful. Be blessed.